September 16, 1975. A United States senator is standing in a packed government hearing room in Washington, D.C. He's holding a gun, not a normal gun, something much stranger. A modified pistol with a thick, oversized barrel. It looks like a prop from a science fiction film. He holds it up for the cameras. "This is a dart gun," he says. "It was made by the CIA." The room goes silent, because what he says next was never supposed to leave the building. The dart inside that gun is made of frozen water, laced with poison. When it enters the body, the ice melts. No mark, no dart, no trace of anything. To any doctor who examined the body, it would look like a natural heart attack. That was the whole point. That gun was real. That hearing was real. And this is just one of 6 CIA operations that were so deeply buried, the people running them were certain the public would never find out. They were wrong. Here are 6 of the CIA's most extraordinary secret operations, the ones that weren't supposed to survive the shredder. 1950, Philippines, the Vampire. Operation Aswang. The Philippines, a thick, mountainous jungle. Deep inside that jungle, a communist rebel army called the Hukbalahap, the Huks, has been growing for years. At their peak, they have 15,000 armed fighters. They have killed thousands of soldiers and civilians. They have attacked towns, bombed infrastructure, and at one point came close enough to Manila that the Philippine government nearly collapsed. The US cannot let that happen. Traditional military force has not worked. The jungle is too dense. The rebels know every path, every village, every hiding spot. So the CIA sends a different kind of man. His name is Edward Lansdale, and before the war, he was an advertising executive in San Francisco. Not a soldier, not a weapons expert, a man who understood how to get inside people's heads, and he was about to run the strangest campaign of his career. Lansdale studied the Huks, not their weapons or supply lines, their fears. He found out that many of the fighters were deeply superstitious. They believed in spirits, in creatures, in things that moved through the dark. And he found out about the Aswang. The Aswang is a creature from Philippine folklore, a shape-shifting vampire. It hunts at night and drains its victims through 2 holes in the neck. Filipino children grow up hearing stories about it. It is not a myth you easily forget. Lansdale decided to bring it to life. CIA agents moved quietly through the villages nearby, talking to locals, spreading a rumor. An Aswang had been seen near that mountain. Something was up there. Something that hunted soldiers, something that left bodies drained of blood. The rebels heard the whispers. Soldiers always hear the whispers, but they stayed put. So the CIA made the rumor real. A small CIA team slipped into the jungle at night. No lights, no sound. They tracked a Huk patrol from behind, moving in total darkness. Slowly, patiently. They came up behind the very last soldier in the line, grabbed him, silent, gone. Then they held the body upside down, made 2 clean holes in the neck, and drained every drop of blood from the corpse. They placed it carefully on the trail and disappeared back into the trees. The next morning, when the Huk patrol returned and found their comrade, pale, hollow, bloodless on the ground, something broke inside that unit. No order was given, no debate. They packed up and ran, an entire rebel position, abandoned within 24 hours. The CIA had not fired a single shot. No aircraft, no artillery, no battle, just a story, and a body left in the right place. But Lansdale pushed further. He flew low-altitude planes over the jungle at night, broadcasting recordings of eerie voices in the local language, whispering like the ghosts of dead rebels, warning the living to leave. Whole units started deserting without engaging. The Huk rebellion, 15,000 fighters strong, began to crack, not from bullets, from fear of something that was never there. And that lesson, that you can sometimes win a war by controlling what people believe, became one of the CIA's most powerful tools, one they would use again and again. Now, while all of this is happening in the Philippine jungle in 1950 and 1951, something else is being quietly set in motion, on the other side of the world, in the frozen north. And this one involves not soldiers, not rebels, postal workers, pilots, and a plan to hide an army under the ice. 1951, Alaska Operation Washtub. It's 1951. The Korean War is raging. The Soviet Union just tested its first nuclear bomb 2 years ago, And the United States government is sitting on a fear it cannot say out loud. Alaska might fall. The Soviet Union sits just 55 miles across the Bering Strait from Alaska. US military planners had run the numbers. If the Soviets launched an airborne invasion, paratroopers, bombers, ground forces, Alaska could be occupied in days. American forces could not get there fast enough to stop it. And here's what made it worse. Alaska in 1951 is not well connected. No highways, few military bases, vast stretches of frozen wilderness with no communication at all. If the Soviets took it, they wouldn't just have a state, they'd have a military platform sitting on top of North America, pointed down at the rest of the country. So the CIA asked itself a brutal question. If we lose Alaska, if we wake up one morning and it's gone, what then? The answer was Operation Washtub, and it was built on a deeply uncomfortable idea. They would leave people behind, on purpose. Not soldiers, not trained killers. Ordinary Alaskans, people who already lived there, people who would not be noticed. The CIA quietly approached bush pilots who knew routes that did not exist on any map. Local postmasters who could spot a stranger the moment one stepped off a plane. Hunters and trappers who had survived alone in -50-degree winters without help from anyone. These people were asked one question. If the enemy takes Alaska, will you stay and fight from the inside? Some said yes. They were quietly driven to safe houses in Washington state. There they were trained in how to write messages in secret code, how to use hidden cameras, and how to destroy things, bridges, supply lines, equipment, without being caught. And crucially, no one agent was ever told who the other agents were. If one was captured, they couldn't give the others up, because they didn't know. Then they went back home, to their post offices, their fishing boats, their cabins in the wilderness, and they waited. For 8 years. 8 years of living a normal life, knowing that somewhere buried near your house was a secret the government trusted you to activate if America's worst nightmare came true. Because while they waited, the CIA had been busy. Deep in the Alaskan wilderness, at locations only these civilian spies had memorized, government teams had buried underground storage units, hidden beneath the ground, stocked with months of food, weapons, and radio equipment powerful enough to reach military command thousands of miles away. The postmaster's rifle, the pilot's radio, the trapper's coordinates, that was the plan. A ghost army, invisible, waiting, already in place. Operation Washtub stayed active until 1959, when Alaska officially became a U.S. state and a new radar network was built that made a secret civilian army less necessary. The men and women who had signed up were quietly thanked and released. Most never told a soul. But here is the thing. While Washtub was being set up in Alaska, the CIA was also running something else, at almost exactly the same time. Something that didn't take place in a jungle or a frozen wilderness. It took place in a furnished apartment in San Francisco, and the people being experimented on had no idea they had been chosen. September 1953, San Francisco Operation Midnight Climax. By 1953, the CIA had moved its most disturbing work indoors. The obsession at this point was mind control. Not science fiction, mind control. Real, practical mind control. The kind that could break an enemy during questioning. The kind that could make someone tell the truth when they desperately didn't want to. The CIA called the overall program MKUltra. It ran for over a decade, more than 150 separate experiments, hospitals, universities, and prisons across the country. Most of the records were later destroyed, but one sub-operation inside MKUltra was so strange that even the parts that survived feel almost impossible to believe. They called it Midnight Climax. The CIA rented a luxury apartment at 225 Chestnut Street in San Francisco. They decorated it carefully, nice furniture, a full bar. And behind the bedroom wall, they installed a large two-way mirror, the kind where you can see through from one side but not the other. Then they ran a honey trap. The agency hired women and paid them out of government funds. Their job was simple: go out, find men, bring them back to the apartment.
Excuse me, darling.
Make them feel comfortable.
It's quite packed tonight,
make them
isn't
feel
it?
safe. And once the men were relaxed, once they had no idea what was coming, the women slipped something into their drinks. LSD, massive doses of a drug that almost no ordinary American had ever heard of. A drug so powerful it could completely dissolve a person's sense of reality within minutes. And while these men, who had agreed to nothing, signed nothing, and knew nothing, experienced the most terrifying moments of their lives on the other side of that mirror, a CIA officer named George White sat in the dark, on a portable camping toilet, mixing dry martinis, taking notes. White later wrote in a letter that those were, and this is a direct quote, "happy days." The CIA targeted men who would be too ashamed to ever report what had happened. Men who could not explain to their families where they had been or why. The operation ran for over 10 years without being discovered. It only came apart when financial records that were supposed to be burned somehow survived and led investigators straight back to Langley. By the time the Senate investigation caught up with it, CIA Director Richard Helms had already ordered nearly all of the MKUltra files shredded. What survived was enough to cause a national scandal. And it brings us back to that room in Washington, that senator, that gun. September 1975, Project MKNAOMI. While the MKUltra apartment was running in San Francisco, the CIA was building something else at the same time, a weapon with no equal. Running alongside MKUltra from the early 1950s was a separate classified program called MKNAOMI, a joint project between the CIA and the US Army. Their goal was to create a way to kill someone with no proof that anyone had done anything at all. What they built was the dart gun. September 16, 1975. Senator Frank Church stands before a Senate committee and lifts the device into the air. It doesn't look like a murder weapon. It looks like something from a movie. Here is how it worked. The gun fires a tiny dart, not metal, not plastic. The dart is made entirely of frozen water, and inside that frozen water is one of the most lethal natural poisons on Earth, a toxin pulled from certain species of toxic shellfish. So potent that a dose smaller than a grain of salt can stop a human heart. The dart is fired silently, electric charge, no bang, no smoke. Accurate up to 100 meters, roughly the length of a football field. The dart enters the skin. The ice melts instantly inside the body. The poison spreads. And within seconds, the target's heart stops. No dart to find, no wound, no foreign substance that any 1970s autopsy could detect. Just a body, and a death certificate that reads, natural causes. But the dart gun was just the weapon they were willing to show a Senate committee. Declassified files also revealed pills that looked exactly like aspirin, but dissolved into a lethal poison hours after being swallowed. And car door handles coated in chemicals that could absorb through human skin on a single touch. Weapons designed for a simple, chilling purpose: make death invisible. Make it look like it was nobody's fault. Make it look like it was God's will. The CIA's official position is that none of these weapons were ever used on a real human being. Only animals. Only lab tests. But here's the part the official record doesn't explain. If the weapon leaves no trace, no wound, no dart, no detectable poison, then how would anyone ever know if it had been used? That's not a conspiracy theory. That's just the obvious question. The Church Committee demanded answers. They got some, not all. And while senators were still processing what they had just seen, another file was waiting in a different drawer. One that made the dart gun look like a simple problem. Because what came next wasn't a weapon you could hold in your hand. It was a ship, a claw, and 3 miles of open ocean standing between the CIA and the biggest intelligence prize of the Cold War. March 1968, Pacific Ocean Project Azorian. A Soviet nuclear submarine, designation K-129, suffers an explosion somewhere in the North Pacific. It sinks 3 miles straight down into the deepest, coldest darkness of the ocean floor. The Soviet Navy searches for weeks. They cannot find it, but the United States can. The US military has a network of underwater listening devices spread across the ocean floor. They track sounds across thousands of miles, and they had heard every detail of K-129's final moments. They knew exactly where it was, and they knew what was inside. Nuclear warheads, secret communications equipment, code books that could, if decoded, allow the US to read Soviet military messages for years. The CIA wanted that submarine. But how do you lift a 2,500-ton nuclear vessel from 3 miles underwater, in secret, while Soviet ships are actively patrolling the area. You don't call the Navy, you call a billionaire. Howard Hughes, the reclusive, eccentric aerospace mogul, was brought in as the public face of a fake commercial operation. The cover story: Hughes was building a ship to mine valuable metal nodules from the ocean floor. A perfectly legal, perfectly boring deep-sea mining venture. The ship was real. It was called the Hughes Glomar Explorer. 619 feet long, built from scratch, and hidden inside its hull was a giant mechanical claw, codenamed Clementine. In August 1974, the Explorer moved into position. The claw descended 3 miles down into total darkness. It found the submarine, it grabbed it, and it began to pull. Then, disaster. Halfway up, the hull of the submarine cracked under the pressure of the lift. The main section, the warheads, the code books, everything, broke away and fell back 3 miles into the dark. The CIA recovered only the front section of the submarine. Inside were 6 Soviet sailors, preserved perfectly by the freezing ocean. They had been down there for 6 years. Now the CIA had a problem no operation manual had ever covered. They were in international waters, holding the bodies of foreign military personnel, on a ship that did not officially exist, running an operation that had never officially happened. What they did next, no one expected. On September 4th, 1974, the CIA held a funeral. They wrapped the coffins in Soviet flags. CIA officers who had memorized the words read Russian Orthodox prayers aloud, and they played the Soviet national anthem through speakers out across a completely empty, silent Pacific Ocean. The whole ceremony was recorded on film. That film stayed classified for 18 years, until 1992, when CIA Director Robert Gates personally handed the tape to Russian President Boris Yeltsin. 6 men who died for one country, buried with full military honors by the country that had come to steal their secrets. History is strange, and the final operation on this list is the strangest of all, because it doesn't involve a weapon or a ship or an apartment. It involves a man in a dark room, a sealed envelope, and a set of coordinates pointing to Mars, 1 million years ago. 1984, Fort Meade, Maryland, Project Stargate. Before we get into this, here's something important. This next story is not speculation. It is not rumor. Everything you are about to hear is in an official U.S. government document that you can read yourself right now on the CIA's own public website. Go look it up. It's there. May 22nd, 1984, Fort Meade, Maryland. A CIA officer hands a man a sealed envelope. Inside the envelope is a piece of paper with 2 things written on it: a set of map coordinates and a date. The date, 1 million years before Christ. The man is not told what the coordinates are. He is not told what the date means. He is told only to close his eyes, focus, and describe what he sees. This was Project Stargate, and it had been running since 1978. Here's the background. In the 1970s, U.S. intelligence received reports that the Soviet Union was spending serious money on psychic research. The idea that trained people could mentally perceive distant locations, rooms, buildings, military sites, without being physically present. The CIA's response was not to dismiss it. It was to try to beat them at it. For over 20 years, the U.S. military funded a program that trained personnel to describe places they had never been, using only their minds. The results were uneven. Sometimes nothing useful came back. Other times what came back was hard to explain. Hard enough that the funding kept coming. Back to May 22nd, 1984. The man holding the sealed envelope is Joseph McMonigal, a U.S. Army officer and one of the program's best performers. He enters a trance state. He begins to speak. He describes a giant yellow dust storm covering an entire planet. He describes massive stone structures, smooth walls carved into deep valleys, and then he describes the people. Tall, thin, ancient, dressed in tight silk-like clothing, dying. He says they know their world is ending, that the air is running out, that they are placing their young into sealed metal containers and sending them away, off the planet, before everything collapses. A CIA secretary typed every word as he spoke. The transcript was stamped classified, locked away, and not seen for over 30 years. It was declassified in 2017, and it reads exactly as he said it, unedited, official, on a government server. Project Stargate was eventually shut down in 1995. The official review said the intelligence value was not high enough to justify continuing, but the program had run for 17 years, cost millions of dollars, and produced a typed government document describing an alien race on a dying Mars. Whether any of it is real, that is not a question this video can answer. What is real is that the US government paid for it, recorded it, classified it, and kept it secret for 3 decades. So step back for a moment. Think about what we just went through. The same government agency faked a vampire attack in the Philippines, buried a secret army under Alaska, ran a honey trap with LSD in San Francisco, built a dart that turned murder into a natural death, stole a nuclear submarine from the bottom of the ocean, and hired a psychic to visit Mars. 1 agency, 70 years, 6 operations. None of them were rogue, none of them were accidents. Every single one was approved, funded, staffed. That is the part that stays with you. Not that the CIA did unusual things. Powerful institutions always do unusual things when no one is watching. The part that stays with you is how long they stayed secret, and how many didn't. These 6 operations were never supposed to come out. They did, which means the ones that haven't come out yet, the files still sitting in a drawer somewhere, still stamped classified. Those exist too. We just don't know what's in them.